0, 1, 2, 3. Let's get started.
All right, we're ready to go. Let's do this.
I'll go with my gray wall.
There you go.
I don't know what this jersey. Oh, look, when you put your finger over it,
There you go.
oh, that's
Think
cool.
so.
Huh?
Maybe you want.
All right, Mr. Jonathan.
All right. Well, I'll kick it off here. So this is another one of our podcasts here. So very very clean cut and totally edited everything here. This is the best that we could possibly give you. We have Bill with us. Is it now? Okay, let's clear the air right now. Jeremy, when he originally gave me your number, he had you as Billy. I've never once heard you call yourself Billy, ever. Is it Bill or is it Billy?
Whatever you like.
Okay.
It's no big deal.
Okay. Is there any memories that come up if we say Bill versus Billy or something?
Not really.
Childhood
I think
trauma or anything?
Bill is a little bit more professional, I guess. My
All right,
wife.
so we'll go
calls me
with Billy. We'll go with Billy then, for sure.
Great.
Oh, yeah.
Because we're semi-pros.
If you say Billy, you got to say little Billy, and
Yeah.
that's ironic because you're not very small.
That's true.
All right, so I'm gonna use both, and you're never gonna know which one I'm gonna pull out next. So, Bill, what is your company? What do you guys do? And how did you get into it in the first place? Why don't you tell us about yourself a little bit?
So Bison Building Solutions is a material provider, a building material provider. We pretty much seek out general contractors or contractors and supply materials to them, as well as designs and renderings for their customers' projects. We kind of stick to what we know. We do a lot of multifamily as well as residential. And in our multifamilies, we really stuck to finished materials. So cabinets, flooring, composite decking, stone veneer, things that basically go in last to make things look pretty.
Got it. Just because you're so pretty.
Yeah, for the most part.
Yep.
That's why I wanted to stick to that. I got started kind of a weird way in building materials and construction in general. I played professional golf for 8 years out of college. I lived over in Asia, Latin America, and Canada. I played the Canadian tours, the Asian tours, and one of my sponsors owned Bison Building Solutions, as well as is a multifamily developer. And when COVID hit, they sent us all home. I was in Asia at the time, and I needed to make some money. So I asked the owner of Bison. I said, "Hey, is there something I can do to make a little extra money?" He was like, "Well, you can teach us some golf lessons." So I started out teaching all the guys in the office golf lessons, and then he was like, "You know a lot of people. Why don't you start selling some flooring and cabinets?" So I started learning it, and was never able to go back to playing golf. It has been a very good business. It's been good to me. I enjoy it, and even though it is stressful trying to get projects done on time, there's not quite as much stress as being over a 3-footer to be able to support your family. So it's a little easier for me to have my family. We have a 6-month-old now, so
awesome.
It's been good to me, and I really enjoy working with customers and working with other contractors.
I had no idea that you did all that. So
Yeah.
Jeremy, that's the same for you with hockey there, right? I mean, you got in through hockey, and that's how you got into building, right?
Well, truth be told about golf, I did outdrive you a couple holes there at when we played last.
I mean, you
Yeah.
started closer to the hole, but
You-
yes, sure.
That's
Yeah.
true. I started from the ladies' tees. I was identifying as from the ladies' tees that day, so I was able to give myself an extra 80 yards.
Could be that, or maybe I hit a 3-iron, but it's,
Here we
one
go.
of the two.
Here we go. Look at I see a rematch coming.
I'm ready.
All right, so Billy, why don't you tell us a little bit about the quality of the cabinets that you use? So we work in the modular world, and there's a variety of different quality levels that you can hit, and even just different quality levels of what people consider builder's grade.
Sure.
And so what you guys work with is primarily company Fabuwood, right?
Yep.
If you could speak to the quality level of what to expect from something like Fabuwood.
Sure. So there's always going to be less expensive material out there. There's always going to be more expensive material out there. We try to pride ourselves in the best quality for the money. So Fabuwood, in my opinion, is the best value for the customer's money. It's a solid plywood construction box. It's birch fronts, birch face frame, and all dovetail assembly. Which means everything is locked together pretty tight. There's very minimal play when it comes to a solid wood cabinet. Like most cabinets in this price range, which I would call it to the middle road, you have an MDF center panel. A lot of people think the MDF center panel is garbage, when in fact it actually creates more stability in the face frame. MDF, it's not subject to the swelling and contraction when it comes to hot and cold and temperature changes that real wood is. So I have a couple samples here that I can kind of show. Your lower end cabinets will be 100% MDF or particle board. They lean more towards particle board than MDF. MDF is a solid product. Particle board is more of a crushed up material, mind you.
Gotcha.
So,
Okay.
so you're not gonna be able to see the insides of any of these, but you can tell a lot of the difference just by the quality. So this is basically the basic builder grade. This is 100% particle board. They edge band the side, so this is like a little plastic ribbon that kind of goes over this. You can still get these in soft close, but you can hear it. I mean, they're very heavy because they're made with press board, essentially. And then you can kind of go up to something like this. This is MDF, but what they do is they fill all the seams and then they paint it. Before they paint it, they dowel these together, or they will do tongue and groove and then they paint it. Well, you won't see any of the seams. In climates that have a lot of moisture changing and climate change, MDF really isn't a bad solution. I mean, this is a very, very good looking door. They're very durable, but it's just not the most quality product. This is great for multifamilies and budget jobs, but I'm still partial to the 100% plywood box. It's a lot more durable. Again, you're in the kitchen, you're in wet areas, so there still is that chance when plywood gets wet, it does want to swell. So that's where I like the Fabuwood. So I grabbed a stain sample so you could see a little bit of wood grain. This is a 5-piece construction. So at the top, if you go like this, you can kind of see right in here where they tongue and groove these together.
Yep.
The center is MDF, which causes it to be more rigid and less susceptible to swelling and contracting as far as temperature changes. But the 5-piece around here is all wood. They use birch. Some companies, when you get a little bit higher in price point, will use maple. And then the higher price point, we use like oak, cherry, walnut, etc. With Fabuwood, you save a lot of money with going with birch. It's a slightly softer wood, but you're saving a tremendous amount on cost. when you go up from fab, you would, there's multiple steps, but this is about the cream of the crop. This is actually cherry inset cabinet. There is no higher end than you can go to this. The thickness, the samples, the everything is just, this is full custom. And I know we have a topic that we're going to discuss on full custom. I really don't like saying it, but when you go full custom, you can't have a budget. Because when you get into that aspect, everything is a la carte. You have to pick how you want everything cut. When it comes to full custom, you also run into design fees. We do not charge Buffalo Modular Homes or any of our customers design fees, because a lot of our cabinets are stock cabinets, which means I can do slight modifications to just about any cabinet, but I'm not building a 34.5-inch wide cabinet.
Sure.
In full custom, I mean, anything you want under the sun, walnut drawer boxes, for example, things that you won't ever see, but you want nice. We can do that.
Well, that's really good to know, actually. And just speaking to that, Jeremy, if you could speak into, because we work with a bunch of different factories, right? And we have people with all different budgets and things like that. And so, not every person that we're building with is gonna end up talking with Billy directly about the project and that. But Jeremy, if you could speak to kind of how we figure out maybe some of the things that we decide on in terms of what might be the best fit for a different person based on what they're looking for in terms of which factory we end up using for their build.
Sure. So just to take a step back a little bit, we work with about 6 different factories, and each factory for us offers a product that is slightly different. So most of the factories have their own lines of cabinetry that they offer, and some of them mill their own cabinets. Some of them do a hybrid where they'll assemble the cabinets in their own in their own portion of the modular warehouse. Where we've utilized Billy and Bison has been with the Empire factory, and the Empire factory is more of a boutique factory that, like Bison, can go full custom, but usually we land with them to do custom and unique, but also to be aware of the budget that we're trying to achieve. And modular, there's no deficiency in quality. If anything, arguably modular can be a much higher consistent quality than a site built house, but I think people generally still are coming to us for a modular home because they're because they have some eye on a budget that they want to meet, and or they're in a remote area, and
right.
The idea of building on site in a remote area like Lake George or someplace like that, you might have to wait 3 or 4 years because there's only one site builder in the area that services that 50 or 60 70 mile radius. But Billy seems to fit in really well. We've appreciated working with you thus far, Billy, because you do have I would say it's a type of kitchen cabinet that it's a little bit more expensive than some of the other factories, but the consistent quality and the spectrum of options that are afforded to the customer are quite quite broad at a reasonable price. And
Correct.
so Billy and even our in-house designer will go through as a part of the planning and design process, and they'll spec out the kitchen for you. Most people that we work with do not order custom, like you're saying,
right,
true custom widths and everything for a kitchen. We're all working within pretty much standard size kitchens for the most part. And there's not really anything that most people want that can't be achieved from a stock sized cabinet from Fabuwood. And
Yeah.
so I think the key is when we're talking about custom is to make the kitchen exactly what the customer wants. And so that might be, spice racks and, drawer banks and open shelves, open shelves around range hoods, things of that nature, which creates an amazing, unique design. Like, for instance, corner house on our models tab on our website. If you go to the corner house model, spectacular kitchen. That's a Fabuwood kitchen, a very low profile shaker, modern look, warm stained cabinet. I think that's the Kona stain. And that's a custom kitchen. I mean, they're standard option size boxes and cabinets, but to the extent that we spent with Billy to make a very unique looking, very modern kitchen, was relatively short, but Billy knows his stuff really well, and he's able to add a lot of value through the design process to achieve that end result that of a vision that we cast on that one early on.
Yeah, I agree.
I find it. We just bought a house, and I know I have to redo the kitchen, and I have access to probably 13 different lines. And, I look through all of them and I'm like, man, that would be nice. That would be nice. But I keep bringing back to Fabuwood. And I know we were originally using CNC with you guys. And I don't mind CNC, but I just feel like the amount of options that we can do in Fabuwood and still stay with a semi-custom cabinet, I don't want to say it's endless, but it's pretty hard to not give the customer what they want.
Yeah. I agree. I think also the Fabuwood service, from time to time, there's QC issues happen with everything, no matter what you get from any supplier or any builder or anything. There's always QC issues that come up, and deficiencies in defects in woods and things of that nature. And anytime we've had an issue, we've let you know what it is, and typically it couriers out and is delivered within 2 weeks.
Yeah, and they have something that no one else has, and they're easy pricing software that I use to manage all the jobs that I'm doing, because it's very hard to just manage 50, 60 jobs at a time just by email. They have a great platform that I use for ordering, for spec book, for everything that really helps us. And their tech support, their customer support, and our rep Adam, they're phenomenal. I really can't say enough good things about them, and it sounds like I'm tooting their horn. We as a company actually make not significantly less, but a little less profit on Fabuwood than we do on some of our other on our other lines. And it's just the consistency of production time and the amount of SKUs and their customer service blended together has kind of been unbeatable for us, as a supplier. They really fix things quickly. There really isn't that much damage. The cabinets aren't built on site. They come to your Empire factory fully assembled. And to have that, I would say, to have that little damage coming on a truck like that is pretty impressive. Yes. And the way that they fix it, you guys send me a picture of basically the box, the damage, and the SKU. And it's on the next truck. They're delivering to our area, specifically in Buffalo. They're delivering every Monday. So I know that damaged cabinet is going to be on that Friday truck, coming to you guys on Monday. If it's a small piece like a trim, or I make mistakes too. If I forget to order, a skin or a touch-up kit, they'll get that out FedEx and they'll be to you in 2 days. I just think they really have it down to a science, and they are coming out with a custom line coming up called Plain and Fancy. They acquired a small factory in Pennsylvania that we can do inset and some custom stuff. But I think the amount of SKUs that they offer is very, very nice for what you guys do. And we can give someone a full-blown custom kitchen if they want to. It's just a lot of our stuff has been in Fabuwood Galaxy, which is their middle of the road line, but we're able to decorate it with baseboard molding, deco doors, molding extensions to get your crown to the ceiling, glass doors. They have a ton of accessory options.
That's great.
I just think it's for the money. It's my favorite line to design in.
Yeah, that's awesome. And it's really nice too, because I think a lot of times people think builder's great. I'm getting a new home. Everything's going to be really stripped down and really basic, or I have to do custom and it's going to be insanely expensive. One of those two things. And so it's really nice to hear that, you know, the amount of customization that you can do while having it be quote unquote stock stuff is actually really, really great. I wanted to make a transition into flooring, because that's something else that you know, being a golfer, you're really passionate about is flooring. So we get a lot of the vinyl plank flooring from you for the Empire houses and that. But if you could just speak to maybe some of the differences in why somebody might choose vinyl plank instead of tile, or instead of you know, sheet vinyl, or instead of, you know, carpet, or these sorts of different flooring materials. Engineered hardwood is one we get a lot of requests about, and that. If you could speak into that, and then Jeremy just chime in as you know, as you can.
Yeah, so I'm a big proponent of the LVP, especially in my house. I have 2 big dogs. So the durability factor on the LVP and the cost factor really makes it appealing. The difference between different floors that I would say for customers is, one, it definitely is budget oriented. Obviously, you know, if you use a real nice thick natural hardwood, it's going to be very expensive. Tile, the labor on tile is much more expensive. You know, engineered hardwood, you don't have the durability as natural hardwood, because you have a real thin top layer that is giving you your veneer or your look. And then vinyl plank fits in, you know, you can get the look of the wood, maybe not quite the feel of the wood, but we can't argue with that, but you're getting the durability. And you know, we have we manufacture flooring overseas. We bring it in by the container load, about 30 to 50,000 square feet at a time in various colors. I wouldn't say we have the largest selection. We have, you know, 5 to 6 colors. It's a running line. But again, we're on the best bang for your buck. We've produced a product specifically for multifamilies that has really stood the test of time. We probably have a little bit over 1 million square feet laid. We've had a warranty claim. It just so happened to be that it was just not laid properly, but the stuff is very, very durable and virtually indestructible when laid properly. And you can get a great look for a very good value. You know, you look at, even if you just go to Home Depot, you know, you're looking for somewhere between $4 or $5 for a great vinyl plank, you know, double that for hardwood. And then you're somewhere in the middle for engineered hardwood. The engineered hardwood life expectancy is really not great. Yeah, you get the look, you get the warmth. If you're an older couple that might just not have kids, dogs running around, it might be a great option. But you're also going to spend that kind of money. Whereas if you go with vinyl plank, you can upgrade something else in your home. Again, I mean, I'm going to use vinyl plank in my personal house because I have dogs. It's a relatively low cost. So if my wife decides that she doesn't like the color in 5 years, it's not a crazy amount of money to replace. Versus when you do hardwood, you're going to spend, you know, you're going to spend a minimum of $10 a square foot. So you better really like it to be able to, you know, put that in your house. And the vinyl plank is just kind of it's kind of been very popular. I mean, we just did a $1.5 million house down in Rosemary Beach, and she used vinyl plank. I was shocked, but it's becoming less. It's very similar to modular homes. A lot of people don't understand that modular homes can be absolutely custom and absolutely beautiful.
Yeah.
And a lot of people are starting to get on that train where they're like, well, man, modular is slightly less expensive, but I can do a lot.
Yeah.
And it's kind of the same aspect with vinyl plank. There was a stigma with it, you know, that it was cheap. And now you're seeing people use it in multi-million-dollar houses, and they're being able to make it look like tile and wood with beveled edges and, you know, what they call EIR, which is in Boston Register. So you can actually feel the grain rising through the floor. The durability, I guess, where I would end it, the durability is absolutely 100% the key component there.
Yeah. Jeremy, what have you seen on site in terms of, you know, maybe best to be installed in advance, or in terms of, you know, the durability of what you're seeing with things on site in terms of, you know, things that you have to cover up in advance and stuff, but, you know, while the contractors are coming through, and that, what's your experience of what you've seen?
Let me answer that question after just piggybacking a little bit on what
No, answer
Billy.
it right now.
All right. All right, that's enough. You're not getting any Christmas eggnog with that kind of attitude. All right. I think so for us, the pros of LVP are typically, Billy mentioned a couple of them. A lot of people have dogs, so they're super wear resistant. It's also good and okay to use in wet areas, so you can have a seamless floor out through the kitchen and the in the bathrooms and things like that. And if you have young kids like we do, half of the bathtub water comes out with the kids when they come out. And so you're always, you know, you've got one towel on them and 3 towels on the ground because they've, you know, jumped out, and tsunamis come out with it, you know, with the bathtub. So that's really nice because it's a pure plastic. It's not like the old style click lock flooring, which was a particle based flooring, and that we would, if you got water sitting in the seam, it would swell and you'd have a mess. It's not like
so
that. It's a good quality floor.
Sorry to
and then I would
just stop you, but so we call that WPC. It's called a wood plastic composite. So they actually mix up the wood particles with the polymer, and that's what's going to cause it to swell and contract. The product that you want to look at, which is what we provide, is called stone plastic composite, which is SPC. It's made with limestone and polymer. So that's where you're getting that complete waterproof, not just the top layer. So
thanks for that clarification. And then I would say the last point is just the ease of install. So a lot of our customers, you know, we ship into like you know, we've talked about, into remote areas, rural areas, and the homeowner on almost any of our homes has the option of finishing that flooring himself. Obviously, if we've got a 2-section ranch, you know, we can do one of the sections complete off-site with the LVP floor, and then where the 2 sections come together, there's going to be a connection point. We're going to do that connection structurally on site and make sure the subfloor is ready for the install of the floor. It might need to be slightly sanded down just a little bit. You know, if there's any deviations, we'd want to make sure those are correct on the subfloor. But then that LVP floor can spill out to the other box on site with no transition strips anywhere, which is really nice. And so I would say just the durability and the ease of install, you know, makes it a great option for people. And then of course, if you're going to sub that labor out to somebody, you know, also the labor component's going to be not very expensive because it does lay down very quickly. So if you don't actually want to do it yourself as a homeowner, subbing it out, hiring a local contractor to do that is a relatively inexpensive proposition. John, your question was, how do you protect the LVP floor from the factory that's already been laid? Was that your question?
Yeah, kind of. What are your experiences of what you've seen on a job site? Because, you know, you've walked through job sites throughout the entirety of the construction, and that in terms of, you know, what are the different protections needed for different flooring types and that you've seen?
Well, that's a protection of laid floor for a modular house is always something to be mindful of, because you know, even if you were just finished painting and the flooring was down, obviously you're going to lay drop sheets and things like that. But from a modular perspective, there's you might have the flooring down on half the house, and then on an LVP, you're going to have cardboard protective covering over that flooring. If you have a carpeted area in the bedrooms, you're going to have plastic sheeting over that area. And when you're doing the cosmetic stitching and seaming, you're piecing together that piece of drywall that runs, you know, down your living room where the two modules come together, and then you're finishing the drywall there. So you're going to have some dust. You're going to have some ladders there for the drywallers to do that. You might have some step ladders for the painters and things of that nature. And so being mindful of the finished floor that's down with some protective covering is important. Now, that being said, there's always, you know, nothing's perfect. And so when I've seen nails and screws and things of that nature that, you know, might be, you know, might have been dropped and they're sitting on the floor, the resilience of an LVP floor is quite high. Whereas you're going to have with an engineered or a wood floor, you'll have, you know, you'll have an impression or some damage to the floor if you know, a screw is on the ground and a ladder sat on top of the screw, for instance. But repairing an LVP floor, you know, it's some people think that you can't pop out a plank in the middle of a floor. You have to redo the whole thing, but that's not the case. There is a repair process that if you had a damaged piece or a plank, that can get removed by trimming the, you know, the tongue out. Removing that, and then there's a process to, you know, reconnect a new plank into the floor, and so it can be done. It's not that difficult. There's some cool new technologies with some of the tongue and groove, which makes it easier to do that than it was the case in yesteryear. So I think repair and replacement is they've got that covered now technologically, which is nice, and probably it's going to only continue to get better from a technological standpoint.
I guess the one other thing that is fairly important for you guys being in upstate New York and your factory being in upstate New York as well, with the temperatures and flooring products, is acclimation. You know, with engineered wood and wood products and tile, there needs to be an acclimation process, especially with the different temperatures. LVP does require a small acclimation process, but it's not as stringent as wood. You know, they want wood to be set at the temperature that it's going to stay in the house.
And the humidity is important, right?
Yes.
And humidity. So, and
you're going to have, you know, a 7-day to 2-week acclimation period on hardwood, whereas, you know, vinyl plank, I mean, 24 hours. You know, you can literally get it going, you know, almost the next day. And you're not really susceptible to as much temperature change. You know, the clicks, if you're laying in the cold, the clicks might get slightly brittle. But I mean, for the most part, I mean, it stood the test of time, and you can pretty much install it at any temperature. You know, when you have tile, you have the mortar sitting, you know, that you have to put the mortar on fast. They really tell you should be above 40 degrees when you're doing tile and stone.
I think that's partly to the laborers telling them to do that too. I don't think anyone wants to lay tile less than 40 degrees.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of time the HVAC is going to be on when that's going to be going down. That's going to go down last anyways in the field. Yeah. HVAC is going to be pumping out some warm air and stuff like that. But that's all good at, you know, good to note as well, for sure.
You know, I should have paid attention to the acclimation process for my Christmas tree this year. We cut down a tree every year right after Thanksgiving. We'll cut it down and bring it home and stuff. And we're getting blasted with snow on the way back, and the tree was just covered in ice and
and you brought it right into the living room and it melted.
I hope you have vinyl plank. SPC.
It was like a river just pouring off of the tree.
Really? You brought it right in the house? This is National Lampoons. You're Chevy Chase.
That's impressive.
so, so I got one last question for you guys.
Okay.
This is really for both of you because you can speak to different aspects of this. In terms of the design, either, I mean, really bathroom or kitchen, but usually people mostly think about the design of their kitchen space. What are some things that people should be thinking about and should be aware of when they're planning for their kitchen design, whether it's speaking to the floor plan or speaking to, you know, the general layout that you have? I know you usually have that triangle formation, right?
Yep.
Things like that. What are some things that they should be really thinking about and paying attention to when they're designing a home?
So I think 100% the most important that a lot of people neglect is walkway spaces. Walkway spaces are so important. Obviously, I don't know, I can't speak to the code in New York, but I'm assuming it's 36 from cabinet to cabinet. That's really tight. You know, I love to be able to have a little bit wider walkways from cabinet to cabinet, or from cabinet to like a doorway opening, or cabinet to a, you know, walkway. You know, I would love in every design to have, you know, a minimum of 40 inches. I think that's one of the most important things to me as a kitchen and bath designer, is making sure that the depth of the cabinets and the proximity to the island, and, you know, if someone wants an overhang seating, making sure the overhang isn't impeding walkways and things like that. I think that's a very, very important and underviewed and underlooked aspect.
Yeah, that's I mean, that's a really good point. I mean, we spend the holidays with my in-laws down in Pittsburgh typically, and a few years ago I helped them with a kitchen renovation that they did, and you know, it's a little bit of an older house, and they built it in the 80s. And so there's, you know, there's walls and things that they need to work within. You know,
There's walls in their house?
There are walls.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
All right.
there are
That's a
walls.
unique build.
Yeah. It's wooden drywall, but you know, as opposed to building new where you can set walls wherever you want, we've got, you know, there's limited there's limits to what you can do on the renovation. And that walkway is 36, you know, and it's, when you have a lot of people, if you like having, you know, company and big parties and things of that nature, that's a good point. You know, 40 inches is nice. 42 is, you know, pretty nice as well. I know Penn West is one of the factories we use, and they've got an Ultra. They've got a kitchen design called the Ultra, and those walkways are even bigger. I think those are about 44. And initially, when you go in there, you go, "Wow, this is kind of far away." But when if you're there for one of their fall shows, you really get an appreciation for the benefit of having those wider walkways when there's a lot of people walking around, and all that kind of thing. So that's a good thing for sure. I think
that was actually one of the most important things at Corner House for you guys, is making sure, you know, we did the island in the middle, and we did two separate seatings on both sides, because originally when we talked, you know, we were trying to figure out the overhang, but you know, if we would have went with an overhang on that, it would have definitely made those walkway spaces, so, you know, a little bit tighter. So even though it's more of a slimline module, you know, we were able to come up with a seating solution that still gave you ample room on those walkways and made it really, really nice.
Yeah, it turned out great.
If you're watching this and you haven't seen Corner House, if you go to the models tab on our website and click on Corner House, there's a 3D Matterport tour of the house, and that's just a spectacular kitchen, just a spectacular design. And that was a real collaborative effort, because it was a unique space. And you know, Billy, myself, Jonathan, my wife was heavily involved in that process, and it turned out really, really nicely. So if you go on there and you're watching this video, I'd be interested to hear what you think about it. I mean, obviously it's not for everybody. The house is designed more narrow to fit on a narrow lot, but we wanted to showcase it as a model so that you could see how big a narrow house can actually live. So, you know, we do that a number of times. We've done that design a number of times. city lots, but also if you're out, more rural and you like that more modern design. It has a really sleek look, and so I'd be interested to hear what people think about that. But just to finish up on the question, which was, what's a really important thing to think about when designing a kitchen? I would say the way that I would approach a kitchen design is I would defer some of the things from an expertise level to somebody like Billy, who works in this all the time. And I would give Billy, like typically, this is what we solicit from our customers. I would say, let's get the deliverables from you and then push over to the expert on how to design it. So I would say, let's, if you want a single window over your sink, or if you want a triple window, or if you want open shelves, if spice racks are important, if drawer banks are important, just pull out trash, what are the things that are important to you? Let's make that short list, and then let's give the floor plan over to Billy to come up with the ideas.
Appliances.
And obviously, what kind of appliances do you want? Something more unique, something like that. But that can really be more helpful from my perspective when you approach something like building that, unless you're a builder like us, you're not in this all the time. And we're builders, but we're not kitchen designers. And so even within building, there are so many areas of expertise. So some people might ask me, well, you're a builder, what furnace do you like, in a house? I mean, that's, there's so many different options. It depends on what we're doing and these kinds of things. But likewise to a kitchen, I would say to one of the furnace contractors, the HVAC contractors that we use, hey, this is what we're trying to achieve. What would you suggest? They're in that space more than me. And so that's where we want to be as a builder, is we want to try to make the customer's life easier and add value to the realization of their vision by, bringing people like Billy and bringing the right partners into the project to round out the overall scope to ensure that, what it is that they're envisioning becomes a reality.
Yeah, I really cherish the way that you guys allow me to kind of have fun with the design process. A lot of the houses, they just say, here's your blueprints. This is what you get to design in. There's many times where I'll go back to Jonathan and even and be like, hey, the customer wants this Lazy Susan, but it's real close to the window. Is there any way we can move this window over 3 inches? And you guys are more than accommodating. And, we can make those little critiques and give the customer exactly what they want that way. And I think that's really important to note, that there really isn't a lot of builders that want to do that for their customers. And you guys do a great job at, giving people a very good price, but also allowing them the options to be able to kind of make it their own. I mean, that is the point, right? When you're building a house for somebody and you are in any way, shape, or form customizing it, you want to give them what they want.
Yeah, agreed.
And
agreed.
I feel like as a combined effort, we've done a really good job at doing that without breaking the bank.
Yeah, I agree. Well, thanks, you guys.
We've had some fun projects as well, which make it unique. And
Ellicottville Maples Road. That is cool.
That's
really cool.
Jeremy, I don't know
the
if
lake
you caught
house
it, but
that
he
came up,
cherishes us. He cherishes us. So I don't know if you caught that. I just thought that was an important note. I didn't want that to get missed.
That'll become my my wallpaper on my computer.
You are cherished.
That's right. Yeah, I appreciate your time on talking to us, and maybe depending on the feedback and the comments and suggestions and things like that, maybe we can do a follow-up to address anything that we may have missed on this call. But I appreciate you putting it together, Jonathan.
Yeah, absolutely, guys. Thank you very much for having me.
All right, thanks, guys.
All right, have a good night.
We'll see you.
See you guys. Take care.